And you've just heard Rainproof, which is taken from SheBeat's album From Liverpool to Leith. And I'm joined now by SheBeat herself. Hello, Jodie.
Hi, Ali.
So, first of all, tell us all about this album. It's your debut album, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's a long time coming. I think, but I think it's the right time. So it's From Liverpool to Leith. It's 10 years of songs, but with lots of new interpretations of those songs. A new song. It's the first vinyl that I've had made, which is really exciting. And that's only because I'm lucky enough to live down the road from a new pressing plant in East Lothian. So it's like, it's meant to be.
Well, we had, is it David from Seabass?
Uh-huh.
David on the radio show to talk about it, because loads of people like yourself who were getting vinyl copies of their album made, they all mentioned Seabass, and they all raved about Seabass and how good it was as a kind of company and things. So you've been there to the plant and got the whole thing.
So obviously we're in Leith, and we drove down to go and meet them when we were talking. We'd been emailing about getting some records made of the album, and we kind of had an idea of the process, but we just wanted to go and have a nosy. So we made up an excuse and went down and we met Dominique. And it was just such a friendly team, and they've been really supportive. Obviously, you know, they deal with much bigger artists and record companies and stuff than just a solo artist like me, or, you know, a sort of independent artist. But they've been so patient and supportive, and because, you know, I'm sure, you know, any creative project doesn't always go to the timeline that you wanted it to. So it's kind of been a long-term relationship with them, but they've, you know, not given me any hassle about, you know, when do you want to do it. And also, I think because it's been, for me, a 10-year journey, it's like it's how it's all come together when it needed to, I think.
So we should say this is available, the album's available digitally on vinyl, as you've mentioned, but on CD as well.
Yeah, we decided to get some CDs because I think it feels to me like it's coming back in the way tapes did.
Mm-hmm.
And also a lot of people have a CD player in the car. So I love the idea that SheBeat's going to go on some road trips, you know.
Well, I mean, the title suggests a road trip itself from
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool to Leith. And the brilliant cover is taken at the Cavern, the famous place in Liverpool. It seems like the perfect place to have your cover and to start this journey.
Yeah, it's a really old photograph that my friend took on a mobile phone back in, I think it was 2013, that picture. So it was very grainy, and we were a bit worried about how it would zoom out and print and things, but Ian did a great job on the artwork, and it looks great.
Yep, it does. Yeah, it really does.
I actually got a few of my friends in a WhatsApp group and sent them a few different pictures as suggestions for the artwork for the Liverpool, because it's like this concept of from Liverpool, where I began, to Leith, where I am. I wanted the front cover to be Liverpool and the back cover to be Leith. So this cover photo was actually just the cover photo for the WhatsApp group because it was one of my favorites. But of course, it's not a conventional picture of someone because
your head isn't on it.
I'm leaning off the frame. But I had another couple of pictures of me at the Cavern, and they were in my suggestions, and I had another couple of me in Liverpool. And then unexpectedly, all of my pals said, "Oh yeah, we really like that one that you've put as the cover for the WhatsApp group." And obviously it's definitely got a sense of humor. So
Yeah.
I decided to go with the majority. But I was really surprised.
Well, I have to say, when I first saw it, I thought, is this Jodie saying, this is me leaving Liverpool to
Yeah,
go to Leith? It's almost like your exit stage left.
it does have that kind of motion to it, doesn't it? Like I say, it all came together really. It does look like I'm off to Leith.
And and obviously this is your album, but I'm guessing that there's a lot of collaboration going on with it. You're talking about a WhatsApp group to talk about the cover. Has there been a lot of collaboration across for this album to come out?
Yeah, no, and I really wanted it to be that. I didn't really want it to be just me making all the decisions. I hate making creative decisions. I'm much happier when they happen to me. But I'd put on this kind of fringe show in Edinburgh in, I think it was 2022, and it was called From Liverpool to Leith, and it was me doing a bit of storytelling, singing some songs, and having some guests as kind of open mic guests, because
Yeah.
that's how I got started, open mic in Liverpool. And I just really liked the alliteration of it. I liked the concept of it. It was it's very simple, isn't it? At the end of the day, I'm from Liverpool and I'm now living here, and I've got all this music that happened to me in between. So I wanted it to be, if I'd have got my way, if I'd have had more time and more money, probably would have had twice the contributors. But I managed to get a handful of cool music pals to be on the record. And so I think, and the final track on the album, Catch Your Breath, is the track with everybody on it. And I think I'm probably never going to be in a big band. But that's kind of like the nearest I'll get to it. And I thought it sounded amazing.
It does. It's a great way to kind of finish the album as well. And someone who's on the record is Zoe Howe, is that right?
Yes.
The writer.
Yes.
I see. I know Zoe. I've read quite a few and reviewed her books over the years.
She's
So how
got
did you get
amazing
involved?
books. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened there was, during the lockdown, I discovered Zoe had a radio show, and I'd read a couple of her books, and I was listening to the radio show, and I um, volunteered a sort of a jingle for the radio show. Because often, as somebody who does a radio show myself, you don't have the production support when
Mhm.
you're doing an independent radio show. So I thought it would be nice to receive an email with a homemade jingle for the radio show. And she loved it and used it lots. And then she changed the name of a radio show to Rock and Roll Witch.
Mhm.
And she messaged me and she said, don't suppose you could do this again in the style of the Rock and Roll Witch. So I did a Rock and Roll Witch thing. And then I liked the concept of that so much that I filled it out to a whole song. And then when we recorded it as a single, we asked if we could put her on the artwork. So we
Mhm.
did a sort of Andy Warhol version of Zoe's face. And then when it came to the album recording, we were looking for contributors and people to sort of, for me to say, all these people are part of my musical family. I just messaged her because I knew that she'd been in bands previously.
Mhm.
So I was quite happy for her to say, oh no, I'm not really doing that anymore. But I just messaged her and said, do you want to send me some backing vocals for some of the tracks on my album we're making? And surprisingly, she was right up for it, and they sound great.
And that, as you say, that single, I remember when it came out. Actually, it's a cracking single. So some of these songs, are they all older songs that you're kind of gone back to, or there are some new songs on there as well?
Um, so Home was the lead single that we put out last year.
Yep.
We put that out last summer. That's on the record. The new song on it is Weather, which is a duet and a co-write by me and Ian. So yeah, the rest of them are kind of back catalogue, but some of them sound well, they all pretty much sound very different to when I have sung them or recorded them. I'm trying to think if I've recorded all of them before. No, Rainproof. No, I think I put Rainproof maybe on my second EP, but it was just me. It was literally just me and the guitar. So they all sound so much different on this record.
But it's still, every song sounds like you. I mean, it does sound like a proper album, I would say. You know, the songs kind of feed into each other. Was it difficult track listing it? Did the songs fit in the right way, or was that something else that was discussed?
That was a whole other admin chat. Like, actually, it was just admin for myself. Like, I did talk to Ian about it and get his input, but basically, I kept switching them around on a SoundCloud playlist and listening to them in order. And it was just something I'd never, you just don't think about these things that need to be planned. Like, when you listen to an album, you don't think about the artist going, oh, where are we starting and where are we finishing? But I think that it was about 3 or 4 different track listings that I went through, and then in the end, I was really pleased with how they sit. And I think that Impossible was a great starting point.
Yeah.
And then Catch Your Breath was a great end point, like I say, because it was the big collaboration track. So it's kind of like, yeah, but you're right, it was a job in itself.
Yeah, I think it is one of these things that when you're listening to music, you just never really think about it. But I've spoken to a few bands who have had big decisions about, what's at the end of side one, especially, I guess, if you're putting it out on vinyl, you've got to think about that as well.
Yeah, that was the maddest thing. Like, we learned a lot about sort of the science of vinyl. Now, I'm not a very scientific person, Ali, and I thought, I still think to a certain extent that vinyl is magic because it's this piece of plastic.
I know exactly what you mean. How does it work?
How does it work? It's a bit mind-bending. But then you hear, things about where the track is physically on the record makes a difference to how it should be mastered and how much space there is available for the waves and stuff. Wow, that is some crazy science stuff going on. So yeah, I think it worked out perfectly in the end because we start with Impossible, and then we've got Rainproof, then Freaky, then Homecoming Queen, then Rock and Roll Witch, then Believe, and then we flip over for Home, So Into You, Weather, Feels Like, Catch Your Breath. And I think that it just as a mood board, it flowed for side A, side B, but it was really cool, like having to make these decisions. Like I really enjoyed it.
And you mentioned obviously that you started open mic in Liverpool. Liverpool's got an infamously great music scene. How have you found coming up to Leith? Because Leith's got a great music scene as well.
It does. And I don't know that I could happily live in a place that didn't have one because it's such a part of my week, my everyday life. I love going to gigs. I love playing gigs. I listen to music much more every day. I just think it's so fantastic to have it on your doorstep.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the other thing I thought about the cover is it reflects your love of playing live. I know that you do love to go out and play live. And have you got any gigs lined up to kind of promote the fact that there is an album out?
Well, I was hoping to do something in June with Uptown Boats to promote their EP. And I'm kind of currently sourcing gigs, because as you know it, Ali, that's another job.
That's another job, yeah.
So I'm gently applying for festival spots and letting people know that I'm available. And but of course the other thing is that previously I would play on my own and I could just turn up and there wasn't much organization required, just availability. But now that I'm playing with Ian and Michael, our drummer, it takes a little bit more organization, rehearsal, and availability for all of us. So it's a bigger task, but I think it's worth it because it's such a better sound when it's not just me.
And you mentioned that you've got your own radio show, which covers new Scottish music as well. It's a fantastic show. Where can people listen to that? Because if they're listening to this show, there's every chance they're going to love your show as well.
Thanks, Ali. Yeah, I think they would, and I think that your audience are, the kind of people who'd enjoy the playlist. I put out a monthly Scottish and Scottish-based playlist on Louder Than War Radio, and if you go to my Mixcloud or Louder Than War's Mixcloud, you'll find the latest episode, and there'll be a playlist with the old episodes. It's just an hour of really cool new music, mostly new. Occasionally I get nostalgic and play, I think this episode I just played some beta bands because of the excitement about them last week.
Oh, we're so obvious, Jodie. I did the same thing. First track on last week's show was a beta band track. But it is such big news that they are back. It was such a kind of surprise, at least to me, that they're going to do this tour. I'm just hoping there's going to be more Scottish dates than the two Glasgow ones.
Yeah, I was very suspicious of the one date when it was just one. I said to Ian, it can't be just one. It can't be. So I said, they're just hedging their bets.
And at the moment, is there anyone you're particularly listening to that you would like to think, oh, this is a band you should be? That's a difficult question to throw at you. I do realise that, but
well, I would say that just recently, so we went to see Hamish Hawke at the Usher Hall just recently, and that was a fantastic show, and that's a fantastic album. But I don't need to tell you that, or the people who listen to your show, because it's been such a success, hasn't it? It's been such an amazing album. I will say that my most recent repeat has been the How to Swim album. Greek Active, is it?
Yeah, we've got Gregor coming on the show, I think, next week to talk about it.
Oh, it's just so good. I love that. Classics from last year, maybe. The Dragged Up album's really good.
Yeah.
And
are you like me and just being kind of blown away by the amount of great music that is out? It's incredible.
It's inspiring, but it's also like Greek. So I was messaging How to Swim just to fangirl and say how much I was enjoying their album. And they said, oh, thanks, we've got another one coming out in a few weeks. I was like, what? I mean, I didn't go there because I see now that they've got a campaign. It's a thing. But I'm just thinking, wow, it's taken me a lot of effort and time to put my album. The fact that they're doing several in a year is hats off. See, I listen to new music every week, and yeah, it's amazing. It's fantastic. The music scene is amazing, and I know that there's a lot of negative chat about venues and livelihoods, and I absolutely those things are very concerning, especially for working class artists who need to work whilst making music to pay the bills. So they are real issues, but at the same time, it doesn't seem to be stopping the quality of music coming through.
Quality of music. I say to people, I put the playlists out, 20 new songs every week. And honestly, I think they're pretty much really strong across the board. And some weeks are amazing across the, it's brilliant.
Yeah, some months when I do my show, I really struggle to keep it to an hour.
Yeah.
And then I think that if you go looking like we do, there's so much, but we're so unusual.
Yeah.
Most people who like music, it probably finds them, and so as a result, there's not as much of it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the biggest tragedy, really, for all this amazing independent music that's being made, not just in Scotland, but in the in the world. That there's just so much that never gets heard. I always say that the most challenging thing for me as an artist is getting people to have a listen.
Yeah. I guess that's true, to get the album into people's hands and get them into their ears as well.
I've got a pitch at the moment where I say it's just 33 minutes. It's just, I mean, you could be making your dinner and eat it. It could be just, that's it. You made your dinner, you listen to the first half, you eat your dinner. This is the second half.
And that to me is the classic pop album length. I think kind of 33 minutes is, for a 33 and a third album, that's absolutely perfect.
I know, it's amazing. And it was complete coincidence. And I think it's a beautiful synchronicity for my love of records. I have far too many. I'm sure you do too.
Jodie, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me. It's always a pleasure to catch up, and all the very best with the album.
Thank you, Ali.
And this is SheBeat and Home.